The first box I ever got my hands on with the H3 processor inside was the Beelink X2, and that was way back in 2015. Now what really struck me about the H3 was that it was cheap, as well as that the performance was pretty darn good for the time, but it was limited to Android Kitkat 4.4. And there's never been any new development around it in terms of Android. But now this Sunvell H3 features Nougat. So what is going on? I have no idea. I'm going to have to open this box up just to check what processor is inside of it. As well as that, the firmware features PIP, picture-in-picture mode, which is really quite interesting, and you don't normally see this feature on Android TV boxes, or at least the TV boxes I've looked at. So I'm really quite interested to see how well it performs on this box. Anyway, let's have a look at it. Let's see how PIP performs. Let's have a look around the firmware. As well as that, I want to see if Armbian will run on this device. So we need to have a look inside just to make sure what processor we're dealing with here. And let's see if we can get the Beelink X2 version of Armbian running on this box. Anyway, my name's Matthew, and you're watching another video by the MXQ Project. So welcome to the home screen. So just to show you guys, if we go into settings and I go down to about TV box, you'll see it is running 7.1.2. Now what's curious is that it's running quite an old security patch. It's 2 years old now, and really I would have at least seen something from last year, the end of last year, as in terms of a security patch. So for Nougat, it's a bit odd. So as well as that, the kernel version, well, it's not too old. I would have expected it to be running 3.10, something like that. And yeah, it's a really bizarre box, this. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but we'll get into that later on when we open the box up and maybe even try Armbian. So as we can see on screen, this is the actual PIP mode. And it works okay, but it's not the best experience I've ever seen with PIP, especially compared to my mobile phone, for example, running Android. It's not the greatest, but it does it, and it's quite interesting to see it working on this box. But the H3 processor is old now, and it is struggling with this just a little bit, but it works. So it's quite an interesting piece of firmware. So PIP has its limitations, of course. It's not compatible with the YouTube TV version of the YouTube app. We had to install the actual mobile version of it to actually use it, like you can see on screen. But that's not a big issue. It's just, PIP has got its limitations, certainly with certain apps. I mean, Kode's never going to run with the PIP. You're never going to have Kode on one side of the screen and another app on the other. It's just not going to work like that. But it is quite fascinating seeing it running. Anyway, let's move on now. Let's have a look at the inside of this box, and then let's try and get Armbian running, because I'm interested to see if this can do it. No idea if it will, but we can certainly give it a go. So pretty simple and straightforward to take these boxes apart. All we got to do is take off a few different things. Let's take off these back actual feet, rubber feet, and we can get these off pretty straightforward. And the thing is, when taking these sort of boxes apart, you don't really need to worry about breaking things, as long as you follow a few golden rules, which I'll show you just in a second. Some of these can be quite tight, so here we go. There we go. That's the first one out. These are normally self-tapping screws. So there we have it, we're inside, and like I say, it's pretty straightforward. Don't need to worry about breaking something when you actually open a box like this. There's really not much to it. It's just this plastic backing with the ventilation holes on the back. There's our main board, and when we sometimes take it out, there might be a actual Wi-Fi antenna somewhere stuck to it. You just got to be careful, especially when taking this panel off. Just don't pull it or anything like that, because you could end up ripping the Wi-Fi cable off. And now we just need to take it out. No doubt there's a couple of screws, so I can see one just there. And yeah, let's get that off. Right, so that's the actual board ready to come out. I just pull it out just like that. And there's no Wi-Fi antenna. Really surprised by that because the Wi-Fi is not half bad on this. But anyway, it happens. Let's have a look at this board. So just there, can you see that? That's our Wi-Fi antenna. Not very big, is it? There's the Wi-Fi chip. Not quite found that. Anyway, let's see what processor this actually has. So I need to remove this. Unfortunately, it's going to remove it permanently. No doubt this is stuck on with some permanent sort of thing. Oh, see, there you go. Really easy to take off. So yeah, this has got an H3 processor. Can you believe it? I still can't believe it, even though it actually says everywhere else that it's got a H3 Allwinner processor. But yeah, it is a H3. That's really bizarre. I'm not sure what's going on here. Anyway, let's try and find out if we can do other things with this board. So here's that Beelink X2. This came out in 2015, one of my favourite boxes. And this can run Armbian, and it runs it pretty decently as well. Not a bad half attempt at actually doing it. And yeah, this has only got 1GB RAM, mind, and this TV box, the Sunvell H3, has got 2. So whether it's going to be compatible or not, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, I have written Armbian for the X2 onto this. Now, it might need a different version. It might need certain things modified to allow it to run on this board, on the actual Sunvell one. But it might run, you know, you never know. You might get lucky, and it might be very similar hardware to the X2. And it does look almost identical in a few different ways to the actual Beelink X2 hardware. So whether it will run or not, I have no idea, but it's on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert it into the SD card tray. So that's in there now. And then all I'm going to do is apply power. Unfortunately, this board does not have a reset switch. So I'm not sure if that's going to affect it or not, but normally it should just boot anyway. It should just allow it to boot. So here we go. Here goes nothing, I suppose. So let's insert the power. Let's see if anything happens. And there you go. Can you see that? Brilliant. And this is the latest version of Armbian as well. So far so good. Whether it will continue to boot into it or not, it does actually take quite a while to actually complete the first installation. But this will just run off the SD card. And as well as that, and the reason I'm only trying this is because the small amounts of information that are available for this relatively new board is that you should be able to run a Linux distribution on it. And there's no rhyme or reason why that would be, other than the fact that I know Armbian's available for the H3, and well, it's probably never been tested on this board or not. But here we go. It's asking me to log in. It's obviously calling it the Beelink X2. Not important really. I'll need to go and get a keyboard. I'll go and grab a keyboard now, and let's see if we can log into this. You know, interesting. Okay, so I have my keyboard ready. So the login is root, as far as I'm aware, and then the password is normally 1234. From memory anyway, I haven't logged into Armbian for quite a while. So my current password is 1234, and my new one, it'll just, you know, and here we go. I'll put my name. Right, anyway, I'll come back and see if it's going to actually get me to the actual desktop. Right, it loaded. We're on the Armbian desktop and everything's running silky smooth. Let's see if we go into the system, the task manager, see if it recognises the actual 2GB of RAM. And yes, it does. Fantastic. It doesn't see the actual Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi chipset inside here. There's probably a few tweaks I can make to actually enable that. I'm not going to do that now, of course, but it just goes to show that this is an interesting piece of hardware. It's really quite fascinating. Now, my question is, can I get Nougat from this box and make it run on this, on the X2? Now that is the question, and if I can, then fantastic. Now the other question is, where, how, or why have they enabled Nougat on the H3 processor? As far as I'm aware, there is no source code, no Nougat source code. I don't even think there's any Lollipop source code for the H3. There's certainly no Marshmallow. So it has to have been cobbled together, hacked together, or something like that. It has to have been. And not entirely sure what's going on. Hopefully we can dig a little bit deeper and figure out what the hell is going on. And yeah, but be interesting to get it running on this, and maybe even other devices like the Orange Pi, for example. The Orange Pi PC2 I think has the H3 processor in it, and that's limited to KitKat as well, as far as I'm aware. And yeah, it'd be interesting to take this, or maybe find the actual source code or something, and edit it and make it run on other devices. But anyway, we can look at that in other videos. But yeah, very fascinating box, I'm sure you agree. And if you've got any information on this, please let me know in the comment section below, and we can discuss it further. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. My name's Matthew, and you'll be watching another video by the MSQ Project, and we shall see you very soon. Don't forget to check out the website, the Facebook group, of course, Twitter, and yeah, we shall see you very soon. Thanks again for watching.